Hi! I'm sure everyone is familiar with the super famous and super awesome Mora Bushcraft Black. It's the one that's super thick steel. It's got the, well, thicker than any other Mora. It's got the 90-degree spine to strike sparks off the ferro rod. It's built into the sheath. And it's got this diamond hone. So, great knife. $55 knife though. So today I wanted to talk about what you can do to a $13 Mora Companion, or in this case the Companion Heavy Duty, to make it more comparable to the Mora Bushcraft Black. So first of all, we've got the fire steel. Just like the black. The only thing this one doesn't have is the diamond hone. However, this green one does have things that this one doesn't. It's got paracord on it. It's got fishing hooks. It's got ranger bands. So all these things can be useful. And I don't think you could wrap this in paracord if you wanted to. So, what we're going to need to transform a regular Mora into one of these is fish hooks, if you want them. You're going to need electrical tape, and you're probably going to want a full roll. You need a lot of it. It's cheap. It's about $1 at Lowe's, Home Depot, Walmart. You're going to need about 10 feet of paracord. It's going to be about somewhere around 8 foot for the wrap on the main body, and if you want the lanyard, kind of a optional thing. If you want the lanyard, however much extra for that, and maybe another foot or so. So 10 foot's a number that you can use. You're going to need either a Dremel to use these tools, a cutoff wheel, and a grinder, or in place of these you would use a file and a hacksaw. Obviously the grinder is to make the spine of the Mora 90 degrees so that it can use the fire steel. I don't know if this camera will see, that's very sharp on that spine. And this one comes in handy when you're working with the metal tube, which I'll get to right now. You're going to need some kind of tube to put the fire steel into. This fire steel's got retention, just like the Mora Bushcraft Black, and the way we do that is by having a tube that's just accommodates it, and having the fire steel itself rest on some of this electrical tape. We'll talk about that. It tensions it up, and these ranger bands pull it back down. So what you need is some kind of a tube, and this is like a cap of a plastic pen. You could use this plastic. I don't know how it will hold up. Probably fine. However, I'd recommend metal. This is a, I don't know if you can hear it, this is a e-cigarette body, a hollow blank for an e-cigarette, so I wouldn't buy one of these. If you want to, they're over at madvapes.com. They're dirt cheap. But I wouldn't even waste, I mean, I just had these, so this is what I use. If you don't have this, you could use something like one of those telescopic pointers, or you could saw off a regular wooden, or a regular metal pen. I'm sure I've got some metal pens laying around, not one within arm's reach. But yeah, just a metal pipe, and it just has to be big enough to accommodate the ferro rod. And The ferro rods I recommend are the larger size. You know, they come in two standard sizes: the chintzy, little tiny ones, and then the army size. And these are just a blank that you can get on Amazon. $8 for 5 of them, so they're very, very inexpensive. And these are the ones I like. I've seen, if you go to Knife Ship Free, Bark River is trying to sell these with a little piece of ebony wood or something for $45. It's pretty ridiculous. So don't spend a lot of money on your ferro rod, but get the biggest one you can. If you use a small tinny one, it will work, but you'll have to make adjustments with the amount of wrapping you do on the knife with the electrical tape to get the tension right. So there's your ferro rod. And these are kind of an optional thing. I don't know what they're called. Little retention clip things. Like, I wouldn't buy these. I don't know where I got them. They were just lying around my house. You can find these anywhere. Like, lots of stuff has them. Just grab one off anything. And these are optional. This is for the Virtual Vice mod. Virtual Vice has all of his Moras have this cool little lanyard on the back with that little bead on it. And I think it's kind of cool because this piece of the Mora is the weakest piece. You can see, I don't know if you can see on the camera, that white is starting to, you know, just being on your belt when you sit down, it kind of bends, and this piece is the weakest, or Mora knife sheath. So I kind of like the paracord on there. So you got your 550 paracord, got your fishing line. Use whatever fishing line you want. You're going to need scissors or sharp knife, and you're going to need Ranger bands. I don't recommend buying these, just find used ones. I lost my one that I've been using for a long time, so I had to get a new one. These are like $4, $5, something at sporting goods stores, Walmart. So you're gonna need one of these, bicycle inner tube. I think that is about it for what you need. Oh, you could use a Zippo to melt the 550 cord. Easier than a Bic, you don't have to hold it. And you're going to need a Mora knife. This is a brand new Mora HQ, Craftline HQ, something like that. It's basically the same blade thickness, length, and I mean everything about it seems the same as this one to me. Some people say that the palm swell might be a little bit bigger on the gray one, but the Mora heavy duty companion seems like the exact same knife. And these are both available on Amazon for about $13. So you're looking at $13 for one of these, with a couple of dollars worth of conversion depending on how much stuff you got lying around. And then you got $50 for the big boy there. Wow. So I'm going to move the camera and I'm going to show you how to tutorial on how to convert a blank virgin, never been unsheathed Mora into the more survival knife-ish Mora. Both companions, the bigger companions, and I'll be right back. Alright, I just realized I'm probably going to have to move the camera more than once. The very first step on this is to get the fish hooks on there. And I'm going to use the very smallest fish hooks that I have. You don't need a big fish hook to catch a big fish. So, and the way I do this, and I hope it's on camera, I lay down one going one way, like so, and then the other one opposite that. Difficult working with the sticky side of tape. Patience is a virtue. Alright, so there's our fish hooks. Now, two options on this. You could put these fish hooks at the top, but I like there to be a swell down here so that this will catch it. Now, if I put the fish hooks up at the top, it looks good on a, well, let me zoom this out. If you don't plan on doing the full conversion and you're just going to do a half conversion with the paracord, the Ranger bands, the fish hooks in the back, you can put them at the top. But if you want the fire starter on, then you're going to want to swell down here. So it's best to put the fish hooks near the bottom. So I'm going to stick these right here. And it doesn't matter how lumpy it is right now. It's all covered up later. Alright, so there's your fish hooks. Now, you know, unless there's a worst case scenario, you're never going to get to these. So we can cover them up real good. We're probably never going to use them. They're emergency survival fish hooks. Also here, if you had a real small spinner, or if you wanted to put some small sinkers in, you could probably get the sinkers in between the fish hooks, or if you had a spinner, you could do it as a whole separate little package. It would have to be real small. However, there's really no point in spinners, so you can just make them out of pop can things. So, next step is the fishing line. I'll change the camera again for this. First of all, get yourself a tiny little piece of tape, just a corner of a nub of a corner, and you could use Gorilla Glue for this. I've thought about it, but that tape does just fine. And the time-consuming part is all in that you want this to be one single uninterrupted layer of string, fishing line. So there's my start. Let me check the camera, make sure this isn't. Okay. So I'm gonna just go around this and around this until, and it's gonna be boring, I'll probably fast forward it or something, but we want to get one single layer, and that way it's a nice chic smooth finish when we put the paracord on in a minute. And I mean, you could be sloppy about it if you want, it doesn't matter. I prefer not to be, but it does take a while, so I'll come back to this when it's finished. Alright, I'm getting close to finishing this part, so I thought I'd turn the camera back on. As you can see, it's just one smooth... I have no idea how much, obviously I wasn't counting how many feet of fishing line this is, but it's obviously a lot. And I think what I'm going to do is just go over this tape. And I think the easiest way to do it is to just rotate the knife, leave the fishing line stationary. Don't try and like wrap it around the knife, just rotate the knife. So I'm going to go up to the top of the fish hooks, the bottom of the fish hooks, and then I'll move on to the paracord. So, and I almost wonder if I should go underneath this tape with it. I'll put another piece on. It's not going to hurt anything. So yeah, this has been about 30 minutes. Just wrapping, tucking it down, wrapping, tucking it down. It's very boring. But, as I said before, patience is a virtue. So, whatever. Alright, here we go to the very end of it. Almost there. I don't know if this is on camera. I hope it is. I don't know, it's close enough. Okay, so now we'll stick another piece on here. This is kind of a dirty piece. I've been using it a lot. It's just a temporary one. I'll stick a clean piece on. Now, you could go over this entire piece of fishing line with electrical tape, but you'll probably end up getting it real sticky. By the time you take it off, it'll be just covered in gunk and crap, and we're covering it with paracord anyway, so it really shouldn't matter. So that's probably minimum 30 feet of paracord. I'd expect it's probably more because it's so thin. I'm sorry, not paracord, fishing line. We're doing the paracord now. And that is right here. Now the way we do the paracord is we always start from the back. Because it's going to leave a welt. You can see on this one, if the camera's right. See this welt? So we want that to be on the back. So what we do now is we make the paracord into a loop. I don't know, I hope this camera's picking it up. And then we just line it up with the center. And the beautiful thing about these Moras is they have this nice little hump here. And that's a perfect, like, the paracord basically raises the rest of the sheath to be the same height as the rest. So that's how the ferro rod stays in place. I'll demonstrate that in a second. So what we want to do, make this paracord into a loop, put it on the back, give it, put the loop bottom to the bottom of the knife, because we're not going to go down that far. And then what you do is you take your finger, pinch it, take the long side. Now we're going to start wrapping with the contour of this hump. Alright? Now, if you fuck up the first time, do it again. There's no science to this. You just gotta do it until you get it right. So, there's our first couple wraps. Wrap. 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 And once this is all done, we can probably remove this piece of tape. And this was, remember I put that little tiny triangle on? It didn't hold, so I stuck a bigger piece on. So we'll just take this off. We'll move down the fish hook, or the fishing line. We'll just tape it up a little bit better, and then we'll go over it with the final layer of electrical tape after. So you can see what I'm doing here. Just going around again, and take your time with this. You're only going to do it once, hopefully. Hopefully you never need to unwrap this and actually use this cord. It's just for emergency situations. So take your time. Make it look nice. Hopefully this does. So I'm almost at the bottom of my fishing line. Now the fishing line is about to be fully covered. I don't have to worry about that anymore. Hopefully you can see this. I think it looks kind of swell. So, we don't want to go all the way to the bottom, we just want to go past where the fish hooks are. So we're past the fish hooks. This is probably far enough. So what we want to do now, the reason why we made this loop is to put this through, pull it tight. Now we're going to pull this tight from down here. So pull that, make sure it's taut. Pull that, make sure it's taut. Now we got a very, very tight wrap on this thing. And it looks pretty chic. And it will look even better once we get the Ranger bands on. Ranger bands on. So I'll take off this piece of tape now. No longer need it. I will stick this back under the original tiny little triangle one, and it will be awaiting its day to be completely covered with the the electrical tape that we'll get to in just a minute, and why it's important and why we need it to have the retention on the fire steel. So this is tight enough. So what we want to do, cut off both of them. This is where your Zippo might come in handy. Yikes! Yay, yay, yay. Yeah, might cut this one a little too short. I think it's gonna be okay. It's nylon after all. So, we just permanently sealed those fish hooks and the fishing line into here until we absolutely need them for an emergency situation. So, next step is the fire starter. Alright, so now we are basically ready for the fire steel. We still have to put the Ranger bands at the top and bottom. But what I wanted to point out is that this 550 paracord isn't simply to have 550 paracord on there. It also raises this bump to where we can now have a flat surface to mount our fire starter. Normally that bump is there so the fire starter just won't go in, but now since this is raised up a little bit off the plastic, we can put the fire starter on. I've experimented with putting it on the right side like the regular Mora, but this little bump here kind of gets in the way, and it's just a lot easier and a lot better to put it on the left. So the next thing is then Ranger bands. I'll go ahead and slip those on now. As you can see on this one, it's already been done. There's not a whole lot of room at the top between the swell and the paracord, so this band needs to be thinner. And this band, you can make it as thick as you can, because the thicker the better. Otherwise, this paracord has a tendency to push the Ranger band off the bottom. It's all going to be taped up anyway, but you want the thin to be at the top, the larger one to be at the bottom. So, when cutting these things, it's kind of hard to get them exactly straight, but the straighter the better. And I don't know exactly how thick to cut it right now. I might have to cut a couple of them. This is a brand new inner tube. I don't know how easy it's going to be to slide up here. It feels pretty stretchy. It's going to be hard to do on camera. So we'll do the top one first. And this might not be thick enough. No. I mean, it's alright, but I'm going to make it a little thicker. And this should be fine, even if it covers up a little bit more of the paracord. Yikes, it's a lot harder to scratch when it's this size. Could probably even go one size bigger, but this is okay. It's sealed all the way around here. Looks watertight. I think that'll be fine for the top. So the bottom one, we'll make this quite a bit bigger. And yeah, the bigger they are, the harder they are. That's not too bad, right there. And we got our Ranger bands on. Now, when we put this on, we're going to have it as a tension fit like this one. And it's going to take a little bit of experimenting to get the exact right amount of depth on both the knife wrap and on the handle wrap, because it grabs here where the fire steel meets the plastic, and it also grabs down here where it meets the electrical tape. So the one thing that it does do is extend out past the bottom of the tube. These particular tubes come a little long. And the reason I want it to extend past the bottom is if the tension on this ever gets real shitty, I can drill a hole into the fire steel, put a lanyard on it, and wrap it around the bottom. Or you could just do that anyway and not use so much tape down here. However, I like the tension fit. I've never had it fall out on me. And I don't really want a lanyard to fuck around with. So when we attach it, we can't just use Ranger bands to hold this on, otherwise it will roll around both sides. So we have to put electrical tape all over the entire thing, then attach it with more electrical tape, and then top it all off with a couple more Ranger bands. But first, got to get this down to the right size. And I'll measure this. It's about... oh shit. It's about... just shy of 2 inches. So I'll get the Dremel and saw one of these off, and then we'll go from there. You may want to wear glasses or a mask for this. Okay, so now we have the pipe cut, and depending on how long your ferry rod is, you might want to cut it shorter or leave it longer if it's, you know. So the next step, we can't attach this directly to the paracord because it will just roll around, so we have to put the electrical tape layer down first and seal the paracord up completely. So again, start on the back, and we want to start about halfway from, you know, leave some of the paracord exposed, cover up about half of it. And again, this is one of those things, just take your time. Again, cover this ranger band up about halfway, and then we're going to go back up a little bit. So that's as far down as we want to go. Now we're going to go back up literally about halfway. And then end it on the back. So now we've got a stable, kind of a tacky, even surface to attach this to. So we're going to go back around this with electrical tape, and then we're going to add ranger bands. The electrical tape will hold it in place, and the ranger bands will tension it back in when you put your ferro rod in. It's going to have a tendency to push out for tension, and then the ranger bands will keep holding it in. So and this part's a little fiddly. You usually want it to be about the same place you started your tape. I'll just go around this a couple times at the start, and then I'll go down, and at the bottom I'll go around a couple more times. So that looks pretty good. You can test how much it rolls. This one is pretty solid. Now you don't absolutely have to have the Ranger bands. It probably looks a little bit better without them. But I think it's better safe than sorry. And I'll go ahead and pop this one in here right now. See what kind of play it has. Oh, that's very nice. Very tight. So, I'll make up a fresh fire steel out of more electrical tape and the ferro blank. Now, the way I do this, and I should have mentioned earlier, I use this JB weld. It was one of the items that I neglected to list at the beginning. This is the quick set, I believe, the 6-minute, 5-minute stuff. This is the best one for this application. And I just, after I get the width I want on the ferro rod, I go ahead and cap it off with a little JB weld. And I put some more on the bottom there. So, that's what I'll do here. I just have to get it wrapped up to the appropriate width first, and we'll go from there. Oh shit, I'll do the Ranger bands on this too. They're kind of difficult to stretch. I'll do those off camera, but then we'll do this. Alright, so now I'm almost done wrapping this blank in electrical tape. If you don't have a blank and you're using a manufactured one, you're going to have to take the width into this. I mean, take into consideration how big it is, and then you might have to add more tape down here and just make fine tuning on it to get one to fit. But that's why I use the blanks, because you can control the width of this part. And once you get this electrical tape on with some epoxy on top, it's super duper 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 strong. It's stronger than, I mean, you could make your own wood one or whatever you want, but the electrical tape comes in useful if you need it, and it will break free of that epoxy if you need it to. So let's see how close that is to that one. Pretty close. And if it needs to be bigger or smaller, we measure now and then epoxy later. So I got the Ranger bands on here. They're kind of crooked, but I'll tweak with them later. But that is a very fucking tight fit. I mean, that's no way this is coming out unless you really just bang on it upside down and try and make it come out. So this size is good. I'm gonna mix up some epoxy, throw it on here, and then I'll go ahead and shave down the spine of that knife, because obviously what good is a fire starter if your knife doesn't have a nice sharp spine. Now you don't need a lot of epoxy. People always end up making too much. This is probably too much. And yeah, the quick set, it's really nice. It sets 5-6 minutes, and then you just leave it for another 24 hours and it cures completely. But I guess I'll try it. Alright. So, scoop some up. Alright, so we'll wait for that to dry. And if you don't touch it, you end up with a real nice, shiny looking thing. So, where can I set this? Alright, I'll cut and go to the Mora spine while this dries. That'll do. Alright, so now we have this piece. This piece is finished drying. And the only thing left is the lanyard. Got the rest of our 10-foot shank of paracord. Alright, so there's our lanyard attached. So, final step, tie this thing off. And we're just about done. So now we have our Bushcrafter. I remembered the name of it. It is the Robust HQ. Whatever the hell that means. Now a bunch of nice sharp spine. Yikes! And so we're talking about a knife value that starts at $13, and we add the fire steel. That's depending on if you have one or not. It could cost as much as a few dollars. Paracord 10-foot hank is maybe $2 or $3. Electrical tape is $1. Bicycle intertube. It's just the cost of it depends on how much stuff you have laying around the house. But when we compare it up against the Bushcraft Black, I'm talking about a $55 knife starting price, and the only advantage it has now is this diamond hone. Now, you could modify this any way you want. You could put a Lansky sharpener on the side and put the fire steel on the front. You could put there's lots of different things you could do. This is just my personal modification. This is how I like to do mine. As far as a bushcraft knife, this has got the fishing line, it's got the paracord, it's got the fish hooks. You know, it's got ranger bands, it's instant tinder. I don't know. It just seems like, I don't know. $13 for this knife, probably less right now. $55 for this knife. Granted, this one has a lot thicker spine, but if you wanted to, and it's a little bit longer. Yikes. Just a little longer. It's not a lot thicker spine even. It's actually, they might be the same. But this is the Robust HQ. This is the more heavy duty. I think they're practically the same knife. Actually, I think they are the same knife. I think they just have different names. So, I apologize for all the mumbling. I apologize for the bad camera work. And I hope somebody somewhere gets some kind of enjoyment out of this video. Thank you for your time. Good day.